legends, welcome along to Hellmouth Hotline. It is movie night for us right here. We're getting into Poltergeist 3 from 1988, I want to say. Yeah, 88. Yeah, one of these movies that you need to watch if you're a completist. Unfortunately, for me, I think the Poltergeist movies, they didn't. The further on they went, the less strong they got, in my opinion. This movie here, it made money, not a big lot of money. It says it had a budget of 9.5 million, and at the box office it made 14.1. So it might have had a loss there. When you say, when people say a budget for a movie, and they say 9.5 million. I always question, does that 9.5 also include the money that was used for promotion of the film? Because for the most part, let's just say a film has a $5 million budget, they will automatically add another $5 million on top of that for promotion as well. So altogether, the money that was put into that film would be 10 million, not 5 million. So whenever I hear 9.5 million, does that include the promotion or not? I don't know if it did include the promotion. They only made not a lot of money. Let's just be honest at the end of the day. Plot-wise for this movie, the Freeling family has sent Carol Ann away from her native California to Diane's wealthy sister Pat and her husband Bruce Gardner in Chicago. So we only have two familiar faces in this movie. Carol Ann herself and Tangina shows up in it as well. Carol Ann has been told that she is living with her aunt and uncle temporary to attend a unique school for gifted children with emotional problems. Though Pat thinks it is because Steve and Diane just wanted Carol Ann out of their house. She's not happy that the kid's there at all. Pat and Bruce are unaware of the events that the Freeland family had endured in the previous two movies, only noting that Stephen was involved in a bad land deal. Along with Donna, Bruce's daughter from his previous marriage, they live in the John Hancock Centre, of which Bruce is the manager of this big building that you see in the promotion of the movie. In the poster you see this mad side building. So Carol Ann she's been made to discuss her experiences by her teacher / psychiatrist Dr. Seaton, who believes that she is delusional. The constant discussion enables the evil spirit of the Reverend Henry Kane to locate Carol Ann, and this brings him back from limbo. He's been sent during the previous encounter with her. Kane manages to drain the high rise of heat and begins appearing in mirrors. Not believing in ghosts, Dr. Seaton has come to the conclusion that Carol Ann is a manipulative child with the ability to perform mass hypnosis, making people believe that they're being attacked by ghosts. So he kind of goes down the route of, Peck and Ghostbusters. In the first Ghostbusters movie, he's like, these people show up with a fake electronic light show after, making people believe they're seeing ghosts and whatnot. So you have an asshole to come in this movie as well. Though everything he's done has opened the doorway for Kane to come back in this movie. During this period, Tangina realises that Kane has found Carol Ann, and she begins to travel across country to protect her. That night, Kane takes possession of reflections and mirrors, causing the reflections of people to act independently of the people that they belong to. Carol Ann is left alone that night. Kane attempts to use the mirrors in her room to capture her, but she escapes with the help of Tangina, who telepathically tells Carol Ann to break the mirror. Donna and boyfriend Scott sneak into the security office while the guard is away, intending to make sure he sees only a videotape of the swimming pool and not see the swimming pool while their friends are there. So they're off for a party instead of looking after the kid. On one of the monitors, they see a frightened Carol Ann running through the building's parking lot, and they run down to rescue her. Before they can, all three of them are taken to the other side through a portal, which is in a puddle in the bottom of the car park in this building. That's something that I enjoy in the Poltergeist movies, is that use of like portals to the other side. It sort of gets my imagination going. So they're sucked into this puddle. At this point, Tangina and Dr. Seaton are both at the high rise along with Pat. And Bruce, Dr. Seaton, stubbornly assumes that Carol Ann has staged the entire thing while Tangina tries to get her back from the other side. Scott is seemingly released from the other side through the pool, which appears frozen, the swimming pool in the building. He's taken to his home of his parents. Tangina is killed by Kane, disguised as Carol Ann, and Donna later reappears by bursting out of Tangina's corpse. So there is a few moments in this movie that are grotesque and so well done. Donna crawling out of the corpse of Tangina is one of those moments where you're just like, oh my goodness, what the heck were these people smoking whenever they come up with that idea? That is something that I will not forget until my dying day. Absolutely disgusting. So Dr. Seaton attempts to calm Donna. Bruce sees Carol Ann's reflection in the mirror and chases after her. That is so well done in this movie. You'll see a hallway, and down the one side of the hallway it'll be a line of mirrors. So in the reflection of the mirror, you'll see Carol Ann running down the hallway, but in the hallway itself you don't see her. So that's it's a nice bit of video editing. It's not a huge thing to do now these days, but back in '88, whenever it was all film, would have been a more difficult thing to do now. But today you could easily do that effect on a cheap laptop. You really could, but it's having said that, there it is. If it's done well, that's a great effect. So Bruce chases after. Dr. Seaton is not far behind. He believes he sees Carol Ann in the elevator. After Dr. Seaton approaches the elevator doors, Donna appears behind him and pushes him to his death down the empty elevator shaft. And at this point it is revealed that what came back was not Donna, but a ghost under Kane's control, which then vanishes back into the mirror with a ghost imposter of Scott at its side. So, even in death, Tangina turns out is more powerful than Kane expects, and she manages to return long enough to give Pat and Bruce her necklace and an important piece of advice to use with it. Pat and Bruce struggle to find Carol Ann, but Bruce is captured, and eventually Pat is forced to prove her love for Carol Ann in a final face-off against Kane. So that's the key at the end of this movie, is the love of the family will break the evil of Kane and his demon side and whatnot. At the end, Tangina then appears and manages to convince Kane to go into the light with her. Donna, Bruce and Carol Ann then return to Pat, with the exception of Scott leaving the other side. In the end of the movie, you see the horizon of the city, lightning flashing over the top of the building, and you hear Kane's evil laughter, kind of hinting that Kane may not be gone for good, I should say. yeah, this movie here, as I say, the further these movies went on back in the day, very rarely they would get better as they went on. Uh, you would have had exceptions of like Nightmare on Elm Street had a good successful run the further it went. Halloween, you could say the same thing of Friday the 13th, but unfortunately, when it comes to these movies, the Poltergeist movies, and I still think the first one is by far the best, because for me, what you don't see is a lot scarier than what you actually do see. So yeah, this movie here, you would need to watch it for the, if you're a completist, you'll have to watch it. It's definitely not the strongest of the three, and I'm not 100% sure where the films went after this. Like, I think it was just the trilogy. There might have been a couple of remakes somewhere along the line. There might have been a TV show at one point, but yes, as far as the original run, this is it for the Poltergeist movie. So a film series that was overshadowed by some devastating news and things that happened, cast members and whatnot. Like, I believe Carol Ann herself died shortly after this. Yeah, there's something happened to her. She had to go to hospital for something, and she didn't get through. Ella O'Rourke. Let me just look her up. She was, let me see. Yeah, she died in 1988. Let me see. In 1987, O'Rourke became ill with I'm not even going to try to pronounce that word. Cardiasis, I think that's it. Which she contracted from well water at her family's home in Big Bear Lake. She was subsequently diagnosed with having Crohn's disease. She was prescribed cortisone injections to treat the disease during the time she was filming Poltergeist 3. The stericidal injections resulted in facial swelling of the cheeks, which O'Rourke's mother said she was very self-conscious about. On January 31st, 1988, O'Rourke began exhibiting flu-like symptoms. The following morning, she collapsed in her home. She was rushed to the community hospital. Now, Cajon, en route, she suffered a cardiac arrest, but paramedics were able to restart her heart at 9:25 a.m. She was subsequently flown to Children's Hospital in San Diego, where it was discovered she had intestinal stenosis and went into emergency surgery. She did survive the surgery, but suffered another cardiac arrest while in the recovery room. Doctors performed CPR for over 30 minutes, but O'Rourke was pronounced dead at 2:45 that afternoon. The cause of death was ruled congenital stenosis of the intestine, complicated by septic shock. Yeah, so that is devastating news there. Like, she was only 12 years old whenever she died. So, yeah. Much like Brandon Lee, I think these three movies would have been the breakout for her as a child actor. Like, goodness knows where her career would have went if she hadn't lived on afterwards. Yeah, so that was the two members that died. I think there was three. I think the guy that originally played Kane in the second movie, I think he died shortly after it, but I think it was like old age or something. But in the first movie, Caroline had an older brother and sister, but in the second movie there's no sign of the sister. And if memory serves, I'm not even going to look it up right now, but I don't have time. But if memory serves, the actress that played her was killed by a boyfriend shortly after the filming of the first movie. So there was always, back in the day, back in the 80s, there was always these stories about horror movies that had like curses following the crew and whatnot. And of course, something like this will happen in a trilogy of movies where, 3 cast members died during the run of the 3 movies, and that starts the rumours that there was evil following these horror movies the whole time. Like, I do recall, and I've probably went down this road before, about I believe it was The Exorcist. I remember some of the people about here whenever I was a kid, back in the day, where you just, it wasn't as easy to get things to watch, the days of VHS and whatnot. You couldn't just lift your smartphone and stream on a movie. You had to actually get the physical copy of the thing. I do believe that it was The Exorcist where there was the story. I'll actually probably do an standalone episode about that sometime on the show here. But essentially, the rumour was that every VHS cassette tape of the Exorcist came with its own demon and whatnot, and if you had a copy of it, you were opening yourself up to the chance of being possessed yourself. And I remember ministers and pastors going over this themselves and whatnot back in the day. But yes, I'll take it with a pinch of salt really at the end of the day, because now 25, 30 years down the line, these same pastors are running about with smartphones in their pockets, and I'm just like, yeah, they go off on one about, I'm just dying for the opportunity for one of these guys to come at me for the horror podcast here. Like, the amount of Christian friends that I've had in the past and people that I grew up with, that since I launched this show, you've just noticed that the interaction between me and other people isn't there anymore, as much as it was before. Even though before this show, I would have been doing reviews on YouTube and that sort of thing. The odd horror movie would pop up and I did a review on it on the normal review channel. But since I've actually dedicated a podcast to horror at the moment, that's like, ooh, he's a nasty boy, we shouldn't be talking to him anymore. So I'm just dying for somebody to come at me and it's like, what the heck are you doing here with this horror podcast? And I'll just be like, why are you running about with a smartphone in your pocket? Referring back to the old stories of the VHS of the Exorcist and that sort of thing, came of its own demon and whatnot. If you follow the common sense route from then, you've got a device in your pocket called a smartphone now that is capable of streaming in just about any piece of content you want to get your hands on after a couple of presses of a button, and that has the potential to show you any movie, counting The Exorcist. So is your smartphone now not just the new demon box, and yet you're running about here pretending to be the big Christian, but you've got that little demon box in your pocket. So that is what it is. If you're gonna preach the bit out like you were back in the day, why are you not doing it now? Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent to finish off the episode. I'm going to go now, get my day's work started. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, let me know. Please feel free to share it along, written review, all that good social media stuff. I will love you forever. And until the next episode, whatever you're doing, stay safe, and I'll talk to you all then. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.